On February 3, 2025, a significant upheaval unfolded at the U.S. Agency for International Development USAID as staff members were instructed to refrain from entering their Washington headquarters. This directive followed a startling announcement by billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk, who claimed that President Donald Trump had agreed with him on the decision to disband the agency, which has been a cornerstone of U.S. foreign aid and development efforts for over 6 decades. The announcement and immediate reactions. The crisis began when Musk, during a live session on X Spaces, communicated that he had spoken with Trump and they both agreed that USAID was beyond repair. Musk described the agency in stark terms, likening it to a ball of worms that needed to be entirely dismantled. He stated, "We're shutting it down," which sent shockwaves through the agency and the broader political landscape. In the wake of Musk's announcement, USAID employees reported being locked out of their computer systems overnight. Those who managed to remain logged in received emails from agency leadership informing them that the headquarters would be closed for the day. This situation was further exacerbated by the USAID website going offline just a day prior, leaving employees and the public in the dark regarding the agency's status, security measures, and employee lockout. As the day progressed, heightened security measures were observed at USAID's headquarters. Yellow police tape was visible and security officers were stationed to restrict access to the lobby. Reports indicated that over 600 employees had been locked out of their systems, and even those attempting to enter the building were turned away by security guards. The atmosphere was tense, with employees expressing confusion and concern over their employment status and the agency's future. 2 government employees from the State Department who attempted to access USAID's offices were also denied entry, illustrating the chaos and uncertainty that had enveloped the agency. Onlookers noted that the USAID flag continued to fly in front of the headquarters, a stark contrast to the turmoil inside. Context of the shutdown. The backdrop to this dramatic turn of events involved a broader strategy by the Trump administration to reshape federal agencies, particularly those perceived as promoting liberal agendas. Musk, who was leading a civilian review of federal operations under Trump's guidance, had previously targeted other agencies, including the Treasury Department, where his team gained access to sensitive information. The Trump administration had already imposed a freeze on foreign assistance, which had severe implications for USAID's global initiatives and led to thousands of layoffs across related organizations. This freeze was part of a strategy to root out what Trump and his supporters characterized as wasteful spending in government programs. Political implications and responses. Democratic lawmakers swiftly condemned the actions taken by Musk and Trump. Senator Elizabeth Warren, among others, argued that the president lacked the constitutional authority to unilaterally eliminate an agency without congressional approval. They expressed concerns about the implications of Musk's unfettered access to sensitive government information and the potential for significant harm to U.S. foreign aid efforts. Warren articulated the need for vigilance against these developments, stating, "We must do everything in our power to push back and protect people from harm." The sentiment among Democrats was that the dismantling of USAID would not only affect employees but also millions of people globally who rely on U.S. aid for humanitarian assistance. Summary of events. The timeline of events leading to the shutdown of USAID is as follows. 1. February 1, 2025. The USAID website goes offline, coinciding with a freeze on foreign assistance ordered by the Trump administration. 2. February 2, 2025, Musk announces that he has spoken with Trump about shutting down USAID, declaring it irreparable. 3. February 3, 2025, USAID staff are instructed to stay away from headquarters. Over 600 employees are locked out of their systems. Security measures intensify with barriers and police tape surrounding the building. The implications of these events are profound, potentially reshaping U.S. foreign aid policy and governance in ways that could have lasting effects on humanitarian efforts worldwide. The actions taken against USAID are seen as part of a broader Republican strategy to restructure federal agencies and reduce government involvement in international aid, raising significant questions about the future of U.S. humanitarian efforts and the agency's role in global development. The direct answer to your request regarding counterintuitive information in the content revolves around the implications of the announcement made by Elon Musk about the potential disbanding of USAID and the subsequent reactions from various stakeholders. 1. Musk's role in government. It might be counterintuitive to consider a billionaire entrepreneur like Elon Musk leading a civilian review of federal agencies, especially one as established and significant as USAID. Musk's direct influence in government decisions, particularly concerning foreign aid and humanitarian efforts, challenges the conventional view of government operations being led by career politicians or civil servants. His characterization of USAID as beyond repair and a ball of worms suggests a radical approach to governance that may not align with traditional political discourse. 2. Response from lawmakers. The vehement pushback from Democratic lawmakers, particularly regarding constitutional authority, underscores a counterintuitive scenario where a billionaire's opinion holds substantial weight over a federal agency's future. This reflects a potential shift in governmental power dynamics where non-elected individuals can exert significant influence over established institutions, raising questions about the accountability and checks and balances within the U.S. political system. 3. Operational disruption. The immediate operational disruptions at USAID, such as employees being locked out of their systems and the agency's website going offline, highlight a counterintuitive reality where the announcement of a potential shutdown leads to swift action that undermines the agency's ability to function. This suggests a volatile environment where announcements can have immediate and profound impacts on governmental operations, a scenario not typically anticipated in bureaucratic settings. For public perception of federal agencies, Musk and Trump's rhetoric about USAID being run by radical lunatics reflects a broader counterintuitive narrative in public perception. Federal agencies, often viewed as stable and necessary for governance and humanitarian efforts, are being framed as dysfunctional entities. This framing can lead to public support for dismantling established institutions based on a narrative of inefficiency, which counters the traditional view of government as a necessary mechanism for societal progress. 5. Impact on global aid. The freeze on foreign assistance and the dismantling of USAID operations represent a counterintuitive shift in U.S. foreign policy. Historically, the U.S. has been a leading provider of humanitarian aid globally. The potential shutdown of USAID and the cessation of its programs could lead to increased suffering in various regions, which contradicts the long-standing American narrative of being a benefactor in global humanitarian efforts. 6. Workforce impact. The directive resulting in thousands of layoffs and the closure of programs at USAID contradicts the idea that government jobs are secure and stable. The speed and swiftness of these layoffs indicate that governmental employment can be abruptly affected by political whims, challenging the assumption that public sector jobs are insulated from such drastic changes. 7. Musk's government inspections. The fact that Musk's team was allowed to conduct inspections and access sensitive information raises counterintuitive questions about privacy and security in government operations. Typically, such inspections would be reserved for governmental oversight bodies, but the current situation suggests a blurring of lines between private enterprise and public governance. These counterintuitive elements illustrate a significant shift in the relationship between private individuals, particularly those with considerable financial power, and public institutions, as well as a redefinition of the role of government agencies in addressing global challenges. The report on the recent developments regarding the U.S. Agency for International Development (USAID) reveals significant political and operational upheaval that many may overlook. While the headlines focus on billionaire Elon Musk's controversial announcement that USAID should be shut down, there are deeper implications and overlooked aspects that merit closer examination. Key overlooked aspects. 1. Impact on humanitarian aid. The most immediate but often understated consequence of shutting down USAID would be the drastic reduction in humanitarian aid and international development programs that the agency oversees in over 120 countries. USAID has been pivotal in disaster relief, health initiatives, and poverty alleviation. The abrupt cessation of its operations could leave millions without critical support, exacerbating global crises. Significance: this would not only affect immediate aid but could also destabilize regions reliant on U.S. support, leading to potential humanitarian disasters that would require even more resources to address later. 2. Precedent for executive overreach. The manner in which Musk, with Trump's apparent approval, is attempting to dismantle a federal agency raises serious constitutional questions regarding executive power. Critics, including several Democratic lawmakers, argue that Trump lacks the legal authority to close an agency without congressional consent. Significance: this sets a worrying precedent for executive overreach, potentially undermining the checks and balances that are fundamental to U.S. governance. If such actions go unchallenged, it could embolden future administrations to bypass Congress regarding funding and operational decisions of federal agencies. 3. The role of Musk's Department of Government Efficiency (DOGE). Musk's involvement through his Department of Government Efficiency adds a layer of complexity to this situation. His characterization of USAID as beyond repair and a ball of worms reflects a broader disdain for established governmental institutions. The actions of DOGE, particularly in accessing sensitive information from federal agencies, raise concerns about the privatization of government functions and the implications for transparency and accountability. Significance: the privatization of government oversight could lead to conflicts of interest and erosion of public trust in government institutions. It also raises questions about the qualifications of private individuals leading governmental reviews and inspections. 4. Lockout of employees and operational disruption. The lockout of over 600 USAID employees from their computer systems and the physical barriers preventing access to the headquarters indicate a severe disruption of operations. Employees were not only barred from their offices but were also left without access to vital systems and information needed to manage ongoing programs. Significance: this operational disruption could have long-term effects on the agency's ability to function, impacting ongoing projects and collaborations with international partners. The sudden nature of this action could also lead to a loss of institutional knowledge and expertise as experienced staff are sidelined. 5. Political ramifications and public response. The political fallout from this event is significant but may be overshadowed by the sensational nature of Musk's statements. The bipartisan backlash, particularly from Democrats, highlights growing concerns about the direction of U.S. foreign aid policy and the potential backlash from the international community. Significance: the response from lawmakers may influence upcoming elections and public opinion regarding the Trump administration's handling of foreign relations and humanitarian commitments. A sustained public outcry could also pressure Congress to intervene and protect essential services. 6. Long-term effects on foreign policy. The freeze on foreign assistance and the potential dismantling of USAID signal a dramatic shift in U.S. foreign policy, which historically has emphasized humanitarian aid as a tool for diplomacy and international relations. The implications of this shift could extend beyond immediate funding cuts, potentially altering the U.S.'s standing in global affairs. Significance: the reduction of U.S. influence in international development could create a vacuum that other nations, particularly competitors like China and Russia, may exploit. The result could be a significant alteration in global power dynamics and alliances. Conclusion: the unfolding situation surrounding USAID and the involvement of Elon Musk and the Trump administration encapsulates a critical juncture for U.S. domestic and foreign policy. While the immediate focus may be on Musk's provocative statements and the operational chaos at USAID, the broader implications of this event, ranging from the future of humanitarian aid, constitutional concerns regarding executive power, and the potential reshaping of U.S. foreign policy are crucial areas for public discourse and scrutiny. Understanding these nuances is essential to grasp the full impact of these developments on both a national and global scale. 1. Elon Musk's announcement and its implications. The situation began with Elon Musk's declaration during a live session on X Spaces where he claimed that President Donald Trump had agreed to shut down USAID, labeling it beyond repair and comparing it to a ball of worms. This statement not only showcases Musk's growing influence in U.S. governance through his role in the Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency (DOGE), but also highlights a significant shift in the federal approach to foreign aid. Such a drastic move raises questions about governance accountability and the proper channels through which significant decisions should be made, particularly regarding the dismantling of government agencies. 2. Operational disruption at USAID. Following Musk's announcement, there were immediate operational disruptions at USAID, with over 600 employees reporting being locked out of their computer systems and receiving emails instructing them to stay away from the headquarters. The agency's website going offline adds to the chaos, indicating a systematic attempt to shut down operations without due process. This raises concerns about the implications for ongoing humanitarian efforts and the livelihoods of those reliant on USAID's programs, potentially impacting thousands globally. 3. Political and legal controversies. The actions taken by the Trump administration, particularly in relation to the shutdown of USAID, have sparked significant political backlash. Democratic lawmakers, including Senator Elizabeth Warren, have criticized the move as unconstitutional, arguing that the president lacks the authority to unilaterally eliminate an agency without congressional approval. This situation exemplifies the tension between executive power and legislative oversight, raising important discussions about checks and balances in the U.S. government. 4. Impact on foreign aid and global humanitarian efforts. The freeze on foreign assistance imposed by the Trump administration, coupled with the proposed shutdown of USAID, threatens to unravel decades of U.S. involvement in global humanitarian efforts. As the world's largest provider of such aid, the U.S. plays a critical role in responding to crises and fostering international relations. The potential dismantling of USAID could lead to a significant decrease in aid to over 120 countries, undermining U.S. influence abroad and potentially destabilizing regions reliant on American support for development and humanitarian assistance. This could alter the landscape of international relations and humanitarian responses dramatically. 1. Closure of the U.S. Information Agency (USIA) in 1999. The USIA was an agency of the U.S. government that was responsible for public diplomacy and foreign information. In 1999, it was closed and its functions were absorbed into the State Department. The decision to dismantle USIA was controversial and highlighted the ongoing debates about the role of government in international communication and diplomacy. Critics argued that this move would weaken the U.S.'s ability to engage with foreign populations and project American values abroad. The closure reflected a significant shift in U.S. diplomatic strategy in the post-Cold War era and sparked discussions about the effectiveness of government-funded initiatives in global communication. 2. Dismantling of the War on Poverty programs in the 1980s. During the Reagan administration, many Great Society programs aimed at reducing poverty were defunded or dismantled. This included substantial cuts to welfare programs and community development initiatives. The shift was justified by proponents as a move towards smaller government and increased efficiency. Similar to the rhetoric surrounding Musk's comments on USAID, critics argued that these cuts exacerbated poverty and inequality, reflecting deep divisions in American politics about the role of government in providing social safety nets. The dismantling of these programs raised significant concerns about the long-term impact on vulnerable populations in the United States. 3. The abolishment of the National Endowment for the Arts (NEA) proposals. Over the years, various administrations and congressional leaders have proposed abolishing or significantly cutting funding for the NEA, arguing that government should not fund the arts. Proponents of keeping the NEA point to its role in promoting art and culture across America. Similar to the situation with USAID. These proposals often provoke heated debates about government's role in supporting cultural initiatives and the implications for artists and communities reliant on such funding. The NEA has faced threats of closure or severe budget cuts under different administrations, reflecting the ongoing tensions between differing ideological perspectives on the role of federal agencies in society. The recent upheaval surrounding the U.S. Agency for International Development (USAID) has far-reaching implications for the future of U.S. foreign aid and international relations. The abrupt closure of USAID, as announced by Elon Musk and supported by President Donald Trump, marks a significant departure from decades of established U.S. foreign policy. Below are predictions on how this situation may evolve and its potential impact on various fronts. 1. Diminished U.S. global influence. The disbandment of USAID could lead to a significant reduction in U.S. influence across the globe, particularly in regions where U.S. aid has been critical. Historically, USAID has facilitated humanitarian assistance development projects and diplomatic relations in over 120 countries. Without this agency, competitors like China and Russia may seize the opportunity to fill the void, expanding their own geopolitical influence through aid and development initiatives. 2. Rise of non-governmental organizations (NGOs). As USAID's operations cease, NGOs and private organizations may become the primary providers of humanitarian aid and development assistance. This shift could lead to a more fragmented approach to aid, where different organizations operate independently without the coordination that USAID provided. While some NGOs may be well equipped to continue this work, others may lack the resources or expertise, potentially leading to inefficiencies and unequal distribution of aid. 3. Increased domestic political tensions. The decision to shut down USAID may intensify political divisions within the U.S. Critics, particularly from the Democratic Party, have already voiced strong opposition, arguing that the move undermines established governmental structures and protocols. As the political landscape becomes more polarized, we may see increased activism and pushback from civil society groups, leading to heightened tensions and protests against the administration's policies. 4. Potential legal challenges. The legality of Musk and Trump's actions could face scrutiny. Democratic lawmakers have argued that the president lacks the constitutional authority to unilaterally disband an agency without congressional approval. This could lead to legal battles that may tie up resources and create further uncertainty about the future of federal agencies and the administration's power. 5. Impact on global humanitarian efforts. USAID has been a cornerstone of U.S. humanitarian efforts, delivering aid in response to crises, disasters, and conflicts. Its closure could exacerbate situations in countries reliant on U.S. assistance, such as those facing famine, health crises, or natural disasters. The immediate impact could be a humanitarian crisis, particularly in regions already struggling with poverty and instability. 6. Shift in foreign policy strategy. The Trump administration's focus on dismantling USAID suggests a broader shift in foreign policy strategy that may prioritize national interests over humanitarian commitments. Future administrations may adopt similar approaches, leading to a reorientation of U.S. foreign policy that emphasizes transactional relationships rather than long-term partnerships based on aid and development. 7. Increased scrutiny of other federal agencies. The closure of USAID may trigger a domino effect where other federal agencies are scrutinized and potentially targeted for restructuring or disbandment. This could lead to a broader review of government functions, particularly those perceived as liberal or ineffective, creating a climate of uncertainty within federal employment and operations. 8. Emergence of alternative funding structures. As traditional federal funding sources diminish, new funding structures could emerge, including increased reliance on private sector partnerships and philanthropic initiatives. This may create opportunities for innovative solutions to global challenges but could also lead to inequalities in funding distribution based on private interests rather than public need. 9. Long-term repercussions on global development goals. The cessation of USAID's programs may have long-term repercussions on global development goals, including the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs). Many initiatives aimed at poverty alleviation, education, and health improvements could stall or regress, particularly in low-income countries that have depended on U.S. support. Conclusion. The future of U.S. foreign aid and international relations is poised for a dramatic transformation following the closure of USAID. While the immediate effects may be disruptive, the long-term implications could reshape the global landscape, influence domestic politics, and redefine America's role as a leader in humanitarian efforts. As these changes unfold, stakeholders across the political spectrum will need to navigate the complexities of a new era in U.S. foreign policy, balancing national interests with the pressing needs of the global community.